Hey, I want to make sure that I let you know that your team is everything. You would not be where you are without the team that has your back every single day. You're the one who gets all of the credit when things go right, and they're the ones who get all of the blame when things go wrong. And so this creates an environment where your team doesn't necessarily feel like that their success is tied to your success. Now, your failure is tied to their failures because they know they're going to get all of the blame, but they don't necessarily see their success tied to your success. And it's because you don't give enough positive feedback. You have to spend more time giving positive feedback to your team. If you don't give them positive feedback, this is what's going to happen. They're all going to start looking for jobs ready to move somewhere else because everybody wants to work for a leader who values them. Everybody wants to work for a leader who gives them feedback to help them improve and be more successful at work. And if you're not giving any feedback, that's a problem. But if you're never giving positive feedback and only negative feedback, that is going to be a devastating part of your organizational culture. So you got to learn how to give positive feedback. There's so many benefits to positive feedback because it actually helps people to improve, become more productive, to be more deeply engaged at work, and to have greater success. So I want to help you right now. I want to give you 3 quick keys on how you should be sharing more positive feedback with your teams. The first things first is that you need to do it every day. Feedback is something that shouldn't happen every quarter or happen every time you got to do an employee evaluation. See, that's where most leaders fail, is that they wait to the evaluation time to give their team feedback when they can't do anything about it. It doesn't make any sense for you to tell me 6 months later that I've done a good job or a bad job when I'm being evaluated, when you should have probably told me that in real time so I can make some course corrections immediately. So the first thing you need to understand is that feedback is a daily process. Every day you should be engaging with your team enough to know what they're doing well and what they're not doing well. If you don't engage with them every day, then that means you need to change your structure of when you connect with your team. Are you hosting a weekly staff meeting? Do you do one-on-ones with your team? And when I mean one-on-ones, I'm talking check-in meetings, 30-minute one-on-ones. I believe that as a leader, you should be comfortable with doing at least 3 30-minute one-on-ones every week. Whether you do them virtually or in person, it doesn't matter. But this is one-on-one time for you to hear what's going on with your team member, what they're having success with, what they're having challenges with, and what you can do to give them positive feedback so they can improve. So I'm going to tell you that feedback has to be given every day. Sometimes it might that you use the Slack channel, or maybe use GroupMe or some other messaging app to give people real-time feedback on how they're doing. But it should be every day. Give it to them in real time so they can actually improve and make course corrections based upon your advice. So the first thing you need to do is to do it every day. The second thing you need to do is you need to evaluate every project that your team is working on by the lens of 3 things. What went well? What would I like to change? And what do I want to share? So you should evaluate everyone on your team and learn what went well, what do I want to see changed, and what do I want to share? Now, the share piece is probably the most important piece, because the first thing you want to start with is you want to share with them what went well. Tell people what they did well that day, what they did well on that project, what they did well on that assignment, because it reinforces that they actually know how to do their job. Because if you have a team member who's never heard from you that they know how to do their job or that did anything well, then they're going to think the exact opposite, that I don't know how to do my job and I don't know how to do it well. And if they're thinking that, then you know what else they're thinking? I'm going to be fired very soon, or I'm going to be demoted, or I'm going to lose pay, or something bad is going to happen to me. And that puts an untenable amount of stress on your team members. And you don't want to be doing that unnecessarily. So give them the positive feedback of what went well first. Then the second key is what you want to change. It's not what went wrong or what they did wrong. So never frame it up as a negative, but focus on what do you want to see differently. See, feedback is all about giving people a perspective of what you want to see change and what you want to see differently. The worst thing you can do is to tell people what you don't like and just repeat over and over again. I don't like this. I don't like that. You didn't do this right. You didn't do that right. Those things are not helpful. So you want to be helpful by saying, here's what I want to see differently. Instead of putting the staple on this side, I want it on the other side. Instead of checking in at 11 a.m., I want you to check in at 9 a.m. Again, it's all about the feedback of what you want to see changed. And that's what you share with your team. That's the second way you give positive feedback and engaging feedback that actually helps build the organization. Now, the third way you give feedback is what I talked about early on, is in evaluations, that you should be regularly doing evaluations with your teams. And you got to know how to do evaluations. And if I had a dime for every leader like you who is never trained on success factors and has no idea actually how to do an employee evaluation, I would be a rich man and I would retire now. So I know you don't know how to do formal evaluations. So I'm going to advise you right now is to get some professional training on how to do evaluations. Your HR team should be teaching you how to do evaluations. And if they're not teaching you how to do evaluations, maybe they don't know how to do evaluations as well. So if you're in that circumstance, here's what I invite you to do. I invite you to connect with me on LinkedIn. Go to Anton J. Gunn on LinkedIn. Follow me and connect with me there, and to drop me a message and tell me that you don't know how to do evaluations. And I will give you some free tools that will help you to figure out how to do an evaluation that gives great feedback to your team. I want to thank you for watching. Have a fantastic day.